What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Clone Zone. We're talking about episode 14 today, titled War-Mantle, and today our guest is Rick Villanueva from Jam Transmissions, and very often he's in our chat as well. How's it going,
Hi,
Rick?
how is it? I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm great.
Doing good.
It's always
Awesome.
a good day when you watch an episode at the start of the day and you're like, yes, that was awesome. I'm glad I get to talk about this all day.
Yeah, this episode was in my head most of the day. Like the guys that I work with, they're not watching Star Wars animation, so I'm like, I had to live with this episode all day long until I get home from work and watch it again with my son. And it was like, okay, now I get to like process and think about it with somebody else and kind of bounce ideas off. So it was a great episode today, though.
Are you okay that there was no Cad Bane in the episode?
For this particular episode, yes, I was okay with Cad Bane not being there.
I do wish that it had just worked out that you wound up on a Cad Bane episode, but still, this is a good one to talk about.
We could just talk about Cad Bane for the next half an hour if you want. I'm fine with that.
Well, I mean, I'd love to. What were your thoughts on those episodes? What was because you're maybe the biggest Cad Bane fan that I know. So, what was your response to seeing him pop back up in animation?
Well, that first episode when he popped back up, there was just that one little musical cue before they do the pan up to him, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're doing this!" And then you see him, and you just have that last bit, and then he shoots Hunter, and there was that small part of me that was like, "Yes, shoot him again." But the episode afterwards with him and Fennec Shand, you and I talked about this, Alex, when you were on Jam Transmissions a few weeks ago. I was like, oh my God, she's kind of knocking his butt all around Boravio here. And I was all for it. It was a little like, we've seen him do some things and now she's matching him. And, it's all good and well. And the fact that he's not there now, I don't know, maybe, put his tail between his legs and kind of ran off a little bit. Toto's limping away with one leg. So it's fine. It was great to see him again after so long, like somebody else that we saw in this episode.
Yeah, that was a shocking one. So let's get into today's episode. And for anyone who's never seen the show, we're going to talk amongst ourselves for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we'll jump into chat. We'll take some questions. If you want to get your question into the queue, you can send it in via Super Chat. But Molly, what did you think of today's episode?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was really well paced. I loved how it started. Just like immediately we're in the woods being chased with a clone. Didn't know who it was right off the bat. And there were tons of really fun Easter eggs in this episode. And speaking of the very beginning, right off the bat, did anyone else get like E.T. vibes of like seeing the flashlight coming in through the trees? I was like immediately in that movie headspace when I saw that. But lots of fun music cues, and we got a TK number reference, and yeah, I loved everything about it. By the end, I was like, oh no, that was a short episode, and you were like, that was actually one of the longer ones, and I was like, I need
just
more.
by a minute, but yeah, it was it just flew by. The episode went so fast, but that was great. Rick, what did you think?
There wasn't a lot of downtime for this episode. You're 100% right. I got mad ET vibes right in the beginning, seeing the flashlights in the woods. And, I was like, are we going to see like the big long plastic tube? Somebody's coming out to get him with like white sterile suits on and stuff. And they kind of did have white sterile suits on. Is those new, I'm hesitating to call them stormtroopers just yet, only because they haven't been named as such in the show. But whatever they are now. But,
I think this is probably a good way to go with it. The same way that the clones had phases of armor. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this whole episode, it was like the only bit of downtime, we would get like one or two sentences of kind of perfect exposition. Where there was no time to explain anything. It was just kind of go up until the end. And then you finally get a chance to breathe. And it's like, oh, there he is. That's my other dude. If it's not Cad Bane. Crosshair pops up at the end. We're talking to shows if you haven't seen it. No spoilers here, but that was and Alex, we talked about it before. I'm all about Crosshair in this series, so I was glad to see him drop that gate at the end with Hunter.
Yeah.
What do you think his plans are for Hunter?
I'm still questioning his motives, and there's kind of a reason for it, partly because of this episode. Rampart tells him in this episode to keep an eye on the Kaminoans. And the last time we saw Crosshair, he asked him, permission to hunt them down. And he's still on Kamino. But then he leaves Kamino. When does he do that? Does he get permission to go? Did he just go on his own? You know what I mean? Like, is there some scene that we didn't see of somebody saying like, hey, we caught one of them, and he's like, okay, great, here's my chance to go interrogate him or whatever. But there's still that part of me that kind of wants Crosshair to open up to Hunter just a little bit and say like, listen, I'm doing what I have to do to survive over here. They've changed me and you've changed because of circumstance, and I can help you, but you have to play by the rules that we allow. If you want to survive, you have to do what we say. You're on our turf now.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see the two of them have a conversation, because we're not really sure what Crosshair we're going to get in regards to like how he's talking to Hunter. Is he just going to be full on like the chip is working at 100%, or is he going to be like, you deserted me, and talking more from the heart, less just from the chip, I guess. I'm excited to see them have a little heart to heart.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a little bit of actual Crosshair comes through, even if it's not nice. I think it's more interesting if it's not the chip fully taken over, or if maybe like Hunter being around Crosshair, him being around one of his brothers, that he might be able to break out of it or something. I'm still hopeful that Crosshair gets a little bit of redemption, a little bit of a chance, or at least the opportunity for it, whether or not he takes it.
That's my whole thinking with Crosshair, is that all because of one scene in what episode 2 or whatever, when after shooting the people, Saw Gerrera's people, that he has that 2 second kind of look of not regret or remorse, but of like kind of like a little bit of what have I done, that he's aware that he's not in control. And so that's, he's the one that's had, the immediate transformation and is almost kind of wrestling with it at least that's the way I'm taking it. It's not on screen all the time. That's why I still kind of question his motivations. And, 2 episodes ago, we see him witness Hauser, kind of lay down his arms, and he could have shot him right then and there. And I think a lot of us thought that was what was going to happen, but maybe there's something, he's aware that, I shouldn't do this. He's, he, like the other members of the Bad Batch, he's still aware that the clones are still his brothers somewhere deep down inside, so that maybe he's just not capable of doing it unless strictly ordered to.
Yeah, I did find it interesting that he let Hauser do that and kind of like speak to the clones in that way. And he was just kind of like sitting there watching, kind of taking it all in, because otherwise, yeah, he should have just shot him for being a traitor.
I'm sure he was on comms and could hear everything, but part of me thinks it's funny, the idea that he was way over like in his sniper's nest, just like, what's going on over there?
What are they doing?
Why are they putting their shields down? I can't, whatever. We're early on in this chat, but we're talking so much about Crosshair. I'm like, let's just, what do you think is going to happen in the next 2 episodes? Like, it's a very similar setup to season 1 of Star Wars Rebels, where third to final episode, Kanan gets captured, and then the group has to go save him. So I am not expecting it to be a beat for beat repeat of that story. I think there will probably be some new twists and turns, but where do you guys see the final 2 episodes heading?
I don't know. It feels like if there's going to be a second season, I'm almost hoping for a cliffhanger on Crosshair. I know that would probably drive a lot of people insane, but I don't know. Like, I've been saying this whole time that I don't think Crosshair can come back from this, as sad as that is, but that's just how I feel about it. I'll be happy if he does.
I'm wondering. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Well, I was going to say, I think Crosshair knows well enough that the other members will come back for Hunter. So, I mean, he even says at the end of this episode, it would have been nice to have all of you, but you'll have to do. So if his plans are a little more nefarious, he can use Hunter as bait, to say, he's here, contact them, tell them where you are, whether they go back to Camino, to an empty facility or not. And that's kind of their battleground. Or if it happens back there again, on Darrow, I don't know. I mean, as far as Crosshair coming back, I don't see him 100% coming back, but I do see a part of him that says, I'll stay behind. You know what I mean? You go ahead and I'll cover for you while, Hunter goes off with the rest of the batch, and the other clones or the other TKs shoot him down or whatever it is. But he's going to go down a hero. I'm saying it since day one. Crosshair is going to be the hero of this whole thing, and everybody can doubt me and say, no, he's the bad guy. It's not going to happen, Molly. I know what you're thinking, but we're all going to be like, man, that Crosshair wasn't a bad guy after all.
I am hopeful for that as well. And I think that would count if he were to stay behind and allow them to escape. I've got like these very specific ideas in mind that I'm like, I need to not get attached to this, but I agree. I want him to go back to Camino, because if the Empire and the Kaminoans have abandoned the facility, I just think it would be cool to walk around that place empty. But the cliffhanger I'm sensing coming is Hunter gets a new chip or something. Like, what if Hunter goes bad and can be saved? But that I'm scared about it, but that's just what I see happening, where Rampart is saying, it's a shame that the Bad Batch doesn't work for us. And so Crosshair asks for permission to hunt them down. He gets one of them. He's like, you'll have to do. So if they somehow get a chip back in him, but it would be crazy if they like swapped places or something, that Crosshair gets his out.
If that happens, it'll be tragic. Alex, how dare you?
I agree.
But back in the episode when Wrecker, his chip went off, I was thinking, oh, maybe Omega is the catalyst to get him to snap out of it. So if that happens to Hunter, maybe we can get a chance for that to happen. Like maybe him and Omega have a moment and she gets him to snap out of it.
And whether or not it happens, I think it's just good stakes. The idea that they're like, we're going to take you back to Camino, we're going to put your chip back in, and we're going to do what they did to Crosshair. We're going to dial it up to 11, and you're not coming back from that. Like, that makes the audience scared. I don't want that to happen, but it does make me very invested. So I love the idea of going to Camino for that. Not to mention, ever since Hunter promised Omega that she'd never have to go back there, I like the idea that she's like, we have to go back there and save Hunter.
What if Hunter does get a new chip, or he's kind of under their quote unquote spell, for the part of the last two episodes? I envision Omega grabbing like a torch off the wall and then stabbing him in the side with it, like Indiana Jones, so that he comes back, and then that's how he saves the rest of the crew.
Yeah, it's just a simple burn.
Right. It's like poetry.
Yeah. To do that to all the clones, every single clone that's out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of clones, let's talk about Gregor. And why do you think it is that his chip didn't go off, or he was able to break out of it, or whatever happened? This is the second clone we've seen in like 4 weeks that's done this. I guess more than just 2, because of all the ones that Hauser convinced. But we're definitely seeing Order 66 wear off, or something to that effect.
I was thinking that maybe Rex had gotten to him for a little while, and then they got split up, or Rex had to leave. And then that's when Gregor was kind of on the run. Maybe Rex helped him take his chip out, or it just wore off. But because Rex knew where he was and what was going on, I thought that maybe they had already like met up.
Yeah, it's like he did have a direct like line to Rex, so that is interesting.
That's possible. It could be the explosion from the last time we saw him in Clone Wars might have knocked it loose.
Yeah.
Which, I put up on Twitter a little while ago. We are one step removed from this little guy right here, Meeber Gascon, with my boy Cad Bane. This is artwork by Alex Rees at Robin and Cat on Twitter. It's fantastic artwork. So this is how we get the real heroes in the show. Meeber Gascon's coming back. Look it.
Yeah, we got part of Delta Squad today, but where's the real D Squad? That's what everyone wants to know.
That's right.
Meeber Gascon kicks the tiny door in, saves the day.
He's been inside Gonky this whole time, or Clink.
Oh my god, what a reveal! And
we can talk
Gonky,
about Gonky.
Yeah,
I
great
mean,
hero moment for Gonky.
Just the moment where they kind of like cut to him with the camera. Alex, we just were like, is he gonna save the day?
But you know what?
So
It was like Omega like just yanked his tail and was like, "You got to help," and just plugged him in. Like he didn't know what was going on. He was just minding his own business.
I think he was rushing over to that terminal.
Yes,
I'm gonna say that he had some agency there.
If Gonk can rush, whatever you want to call that.
He was hustling over, but then he was electrocuted and he collapsed. I have to believe he's fine. Droids get shot and electrocuted all the time.
He's good. He's good.
He'll be up and about. It's just that he got to be part of the team.
Mm-hmm. The music kind of swells in that moment, and just everything leading up to that moment with Gonky was so cool.
And I loved seeing Omega get to fly the ship. So I guess she's now memorized all of the technical specifications that Tech demanded of her. And
that goes all the way back to the very first episode, when she's in the cockpit with him and she's just kind of watching his hands do. I mean, we see that again with Hunter when he's flipping the knife around, and she does the same thing with the Star Wars tool, whatever the hell that thing's called. I don't know. But the hydro spanner, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, like that's her there. She's just absorbing all of this stuff in there, so she had been watching Tech do all the stuff. And now she's, when he tells her, hold it steady, and she's like, I'll do my best. And I was like, yes, you do that. You just don't move it.
And I really liked Tech's, like, that was sufficient. Like that felt like the highest compliment he's capable of giving. But I'll take it from here. I also really liked that. So Omega got sent back to the ship again, which I was in earlier episodes. I was like, I hope we're done with that. But I didn't feel like it was the same this time around, because it was like, no, you and Wrecker go hang back because we're going to need you. So like it didn't feel like she was getting sidelined so much. Yeah.
And like Wrecker was totally chill, just like waiting to be called to action. And she was just kind of like pacing around the ship, like really worried about what was going on. I thought that was cute.
Charging up before he charges in. I still love Wrecker.
I love they were like playing like Star Wars dominoes on Gonky's head, just like, well, what do we do now? I don't know. Let's play a game.
This is also a good point. Like you can't sneak around the Mountain Death Star hallways with Wrecker. But yeah, Molly, you brought up the music earlier, and I was just loving the music to death. All of those A New Hope kind of Imperial motifs that largely get abandoned, I feel like, after, like in The Empire Strikes Back and beyond. But bringing them in for this series, because it's a transition to the full-on Empire, and so they don't do the Imperial March yet, but they do those other ones from A New Hope. I was like, that's such a good choice.
The first time I heard it, I was like, wait, I know that. Oh, that's really cool. And then after like the 6th or 7th time, I was like, all right, kind of brothers, we get it. Like they're skulking around in this like pseudo Death Star. Like, all right, we get it. It was still cool to hear though. Something that wasn't, like you said, like the Imperial March is some other familiar sound.
Yeah. I also loved that after they run into a couple of the, I guess, the TK troopers, as the viewer, you're like, okay, yeah, those are stormtroopers because they can't hit a dang thing.
Except their own people.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
they hit one thing.
That poor guy.
I like their helmets for this. It has that Macquarie feel, but to
Mhm.
me, it almost looked like a cross between a standard TK helmet and the Imperial recruit helmets from Rebels. Just kind of the top part of it. It was a nice kind of mix up between the two of those to say like, well, you guys are like the next batch, but like you're not quite there yet. You're still rookies.
Yeah.
I loved that because in my mind, we were just going to jump straight from Republic to Imperial. Like it was all just going to happen real fast and we'd accept it because whatever. But the fact that they are actually doing a transition, I thought was great. Although I am very annoyed because I just did a video about every stormtrooper type. I hadn't done one in like 5 years. So I was like, I should update this. And then, of course, the very next week, here's a new stormtrooper type. So I got to fix that video before it comes out.
They
So-
know what you're doing, Alex.
I know, they must.
They're just messing with you.
So last weekend I was on another show with some friends. I was on Tumbling Saber, and the thought popped into my head. I was like, listen, this is a very basic and probably a really stupid question, but since they don't have a name yet, they're TKs. I was like, do you think that they get the name Stormtroopers because their first real battle is on Kamino where it's constantly raining?
Mm.
And I
I
got
like
laughed at a little bit. I got a little bit of a
No,
groan, and
I
I'm like,
kinda
okay,
like that.
I get it, but it's very on the nose. And I was like, oh, it just makes sense to me if that's how they got their name.
Yeah, Star Wars is never on the nose. Like,
No, never.
I like that.
I wouldn't mind that.
I think that's super fun.
Yeah. I definitely think we have to have some kind of big thing happen on Kamino. Like that's kind of like the home base of Rampart and all the other troopers.
Yeah, it feels like we need to go full circle. I mean, I just want to see Kamino one more time. It seems like, we're leaving it and no other Star Wars content has really touched it after this era. So I think a goodbye, a farewell tour would be appropriate.
So Rampart tells Lama Su that he doesn't have need, the Empire doesn't have need for politicians, but he does for medical personnel for cloning and stuff like that. So obviously he takes Nala Se with. Do you think he's taking the rest of that kind of medical team with, and all of the other Kaminoans are going to be laid to waste the same way Lama Su was behind the door?
Kind
Because
of.
we don't see him anywhere.
Yeah.
There's like one, I think it's Lando's Luck by Justina Ireland is the only story after this era that I can think of that has a Kaminoan in it, and it's like specifically calls out, wow, you don't see many Kaminoans wandering around the galaxy anymore. So I have to imagine that there's nothing good in most of their futures.
Mm-hmm. That was like so dark when he was like, I have use for you, but not you, a politician. And like the two troopers just go in and the doors just close and you're just like, bye, Lama Su.
Yeah. I'm surprised the freaking flamethrower guy didn't walk into like what.
I thought
That
it
guy's
was
the
the
worst.
flamethrower at first because I just saw a big gun, but I watched it again. It wasn't.
Let's see. I wanted to touch on Gregor a little bit more. We jumped from him to Gonki, which well deserved. We all love Gonki, but I did think it was funny that they glazed over how he survived because I've been wondering that for a long time, and it's just we basically just get a somehow. He's like, oh, I survived an explosion once. Like, okay.
It worked for Palpatine.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
If it's good enough for Palpatine, it's good enough for Gregor. Do you think... Okay, here's a question. Do you think he's going to be in the next episode? And also, do you think we're going to find out where Rex was and what he was doing? Because he seemed to be in his own heap of trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I wasn't really expecting to see Rex again. I don't know why. But I don't know. He kind of glazed over it really quickly about like what was going on his end. He was just like, I gotta go. But I don't know if he is going to show back up in person or if he'll just contact them again.
Well, where could Rex possibly be in the middle of a skirmish somewhere that he can be spotted or found out? It's got to be somewhere where the Empire already is, probably. If that's where Wolf is, if there's another facility where they're, doing some other training and stuff like that, who's to say? But yeah, we're definitely going to see Gregor next week. The first time they said his number, I was like, where do I know that from? And I couldn't place it. And then when they started showing him, I was like, I don't know who that guy is. And then he says his name, or he gives like kind of a half of a chuckle, I think, before he says his name. And I was like, okay, all right. I think I see where we're going here. And then he finally says his name. And I was like, yeah. That was cool. And to see that he's kind of, slightly off his rocker at this stage, like, yeah, I think that explosion knocked a little bit more than the chip loose in his head.
It was a good, like, happy medium between the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, where he's like even further gone.
Yeah. And having him in this episode was a good way to give Echo a little bit of a chance to kind of monologue. You know what I mean? Like, he's been kind of, I don't want to say sidelined, but he's been very kind of stoic and not really expressing himself except to say, no, we're soldiers and this is what we have to do. This is the one time where he was like, guys, if we're ever going to, put on our big boy soldier pants and save somebody, this is when we do it. You guys did it for me. Let's go help. He's one of my brothers too, even if we don't know who he is. There's obviously something wrong to the point where we were called. We have to go do this. So it was nice to see Echo, have some old shades of humanity come back out.
Completely agree. I agree that he's been somewhat sidelined, just underutilized, I guess is a better word. He and Tech, I feel like we've gotten good character moments or even full-on character episodes with every other clone. I would like one for Echo and one for Tech, but this was at least a good step in the right direction. Echo's been kind of the vocal, outspoken, like, we shouldn't be mercenaries. We should be soldiers. We should be doing good in the galaxy, not like selling weapons for money. And I like that he's really stayed consistent there.
Yeah, the Tech to me has been very like Rick Oley, just just stating the obvious. Here's the thing you need. It's right there. Yeah, it was nice to see Echo finally just like the only thing I've wished for that scene is if he didn't have his helmet on. To kind of see what his face was like when he's saying like, no, we have to save this guy, whoever he is.
Yeah.
There was a good moment in the Havoc Marauder right after they were talking to Rex and they all were having that little debate and Wrecker was talking about how everyone was making good points. But like Echo has a good just kind of glare at Hunter that I noticed when I was going back through the episode. So he still had some good facial moments.
Definitely.
In that scene right before Echo kind of gives this little monologue, it just dawned on me what they were like actually doing. They were running through a trench. So they had their own little on foot trench run and then they end up at like an exhaust port.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. Well, a little bit of that more on the nose stuff that Star Wars likes to do to us every once in a while.
Yeah. As soon as they brought up the exhaust port thing, I was like, I bet it's about 2 meters wide.
I think it probably was.
Yeah, it looked to be.
Yeah.
I'm about to dive into some super chats. Is there anything else anyone wanted to definitely bring up before we do that?
Well, the first super chat is one that I've seen come up in chat a lot. So about Scorch.
The only thing I want to say about this episode is there were moments in it where it seemed photorealistic when they were doing like depth of focus. When Hunter's down on his knees after falling farther than Black Widow did, I was like, oh, he's cool. She could survive. Yeah. And then in the scene where Hunter's flipping the knife, Omega's just out of focus in front of him. And like just to get that depth of field was really cool.
This show looks absurdly good.
Yeah.
Sometimes just the landscape shots, I'm like, that could be live action. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's go into AAA battery with the first super chat. Thank you so much. Was the clone commando with yellow markings Scorch? I have to assume so. I don't know why they would give a clone commando those same markings and have it not be Scorch. I figure they will confirm it on Monday when they do the episode guide and everything. So I'm going to say like 95%. Yeah, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense to me.
And I thought they treated him well too. I mean, he got to do that thing where he dove onto the elevator and went around and cut them all off. I thought that was a great move. I'm glad it took like all of them to take him down in multiple stun shots. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I think they did a good job making him look like a little bit more intimidating and more of a challenge.
It's funny though, he's like the goofball in the game. He's the one that's always mouthing off and stuff, which obviously he can still be formidable, but in my head I was like, Sev is kind of more the fighter, so he would have worked better in this role. But in the game, Sev goes missing, so maybe they're keeping along with that video game canon, so to speak.
Well, they were
and that's
missing.
Why they wanted to Scorch.
They were missing without Wrecker there. They were missing the tank, the big player in all of this. So he kind of took over that role.
You know, on the opposite end with the way the stun blasters worked, that kind of Ace Ventura moment when Gregor gets shot just in the legs in the beginning. I was watching with my son and he was like, "Oh, he just got shot in the legs." Like,
we said the same thing.
I was like, how did that happen? And both legs. Why not just one leg? You know, but whatever. Star Wars.
I think maybe that was just being like, yeah, these guys have terrible aim, and sometimes they only get the legs.
I guess maybe not a direct hit from a stun blast. He'll just like put your leg to sleep or something. Won't completely knock you out. You got to get hit in like the chest or something.
Yeah, it's like a Charlie horse on the leg.
Yeah.
Next one's from Lord Hosk. Thanks for the super chat. Do you like Franklin from the cartoon show Franklin?
Cartoon show Franklin. Lord Hosk is acting if we like turtles. It's a turtle joke.
Oh, the cartoons. Okay. Got it. Indeed, I do enjoy a turtle.
I don't know why that became a running joke in our chat, but it is. People ask if you like
SFC Pruitt started it, and we don't know where he is or if they're okay or safe. I hope they are.
Sure, he's all right. He's probably in an aquarium somewhere.
Yep.
EVBro22, thanks for the super chat. I haven't played Republic Commando, but I knew who Scorch was, and seeing him in this was great. I hope we see Boss 7 Fixer 2. I mean, where there's one, there could be more. I was shocked to see. I was so shocked that I wasn't even convinced it was him at first. I was just like, oh, it's one of them. And then I don't know. I just wasn't even believing it that they were doing that. I was just excited to see Republic Commandos, period.
So when the first group encounters the batch, and one of them throws kind of the smoke grenade or whatever, and they all get stunned out. But the one Republic Commando or Clone Commando, when he gets stunned, on the way down, did the light on his visor go out? Because to me, it looked like it. I was like, okay, like, well, I guess instead of like X's on his eyes or something, he's sleeping now. I just turned the light off.
There was one where Hunter puts one on a sleeper hold, and the light left his visor as well.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, how does that work? How do you get an armored arm under a helmet enough to choke somebody out? Or is he just pressing his chin so far into himself that maybe we'll just go with that? I don't know.
Gives a new meaning to lights out.
Well done.
Like a soundboard or something for a badunts. Good job, Molly.
What's next? Oh, Lindsay Brown, thanks for the super chat. Thoughts Cad Bane might go to Camino. He was hired by the Prime Minister last time. Might have been the arrangements referenced? Oh, so what Lamasu and Nalase were talking about as far as the arrangements, they're thinking maybe that was Cad Bane coming back.
I hope that we see more Cad Bane this season. I definitely think that he'll be throughout the series an antagonist, but I'd like to see him show up. Like if just everybody shows up at Camino and it's just chaos, I think that would be super fun.
I'd like to see him fly up to Camino, see like a big fight happening, and just be like, "Welp," and just turn around and fly away, and we see him next season. And I think with what happened last week with Roland and I guess I didn't watch with Alden last week, and he isn't that Alden such a nice guy? He's great. But I was thinking, that's kind of like the start of Broken Horn Syndicate that we see later on in Rebels. So I mean, that's another way to bring in the underworld, which will probably, if there is a season 2, we're all assuming that there is. We see them come back. That's where we get that Dryden Voss brought in, because we got the character model from season 7 of Clone Wars. And if one of them hires Cad Bane, or he decides to go out on his own and just say like, these guys mess me up, or if he's after Fennec and she's got her connections to the Kaminoans, or she's the one that goes back, sees everything going on, is like, oh my god, they owe me money, and just kind of hangs out to see what happens. Yeah,
I feel like both of them are primed for one more appearance, especially depending on what happens next week. Maybe they'll even go to Fennec for help. I mean, she was kind to Omega, so Omega might reach out to her somehow. I don't know that she knows how to contact her, or maybe they just run into Fennec and she winds up helping.
Yeah.
Who would be cool to see in this series come in and get some cool screen time is what was his name? He popped up in Rogue One, and he was in the Afra books. Was it Tam Posla? Was that his name?
Oh yeah. I'd
like
him.
to see him come in as kind of like space cop, just come in.
I always thought his character design was great. So they should go to Milvane, I think is his planet.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Dr. Holocron, thanks for the super chat. My prediction is that next episode will be about the Batch putting together a team to rescue Hunter from Camino in the finale. So let's see. We got our normal crew. Gregor might join them. I think Rex. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's already in league with Wolf. And I like Fennec Shand as the wild card. I'm gonna throw her in there.
I do too. I don't know how they're gonna contact her, unless maybe if Rex knows her somehow.
She could just catch up to him.
Has she been chasing after them? Well, I guess she's still looking for Omega.
I assume so.
Yeah.
Well, Nalase was kind of like, as long as Lamasu doesn't get her, I don't care. So
yeah,
maybe she's like just following them around and making sure no one hurts Omega.
If they don't go right back down to the surface to try to do something, to me it seems more likely that they go back to Ord Mantell, talk to Sid, say, you need to talk to your contacts and you need to help us. We've done all of this stuff for you. The first thing she's going to say is, but I sent you out on a job and you guys didn't complete it. And, to throw her nicknames around for a few minutes and then say, okay, fine. And, who's to say she still doesn't have any Jedi contacts out in the galaxy that can maybe help out briefly.
That's true, because the last episode, the big takeaway was that like they were kind of helping Sid and Sid was helping them, and like their relationship grew a little bit. So that would be cool to see Sid wrangle up some of her contacts to help.
I really like that idea, actually. It reminds me of kind of what's going on in the High Republic right now is the Jedi have to deal with the Dringir, so they ally themselves with the Hutts, and they see this as a necessary evil right now. So it would be interesting to see if they reach out to Sid and get help from someone like Crimson Dawn. And now they're steeped in debt to Crimson Dawn. That could be a fun twist for the second season. even if they do get Hunter back, it's like they find themselves out in a worse position.
Yeah. Olivia Pirano, thanks for the super chat. My prediction, Crosshair will take Hunter to Camino. The batch with Rex and Gregor will rescue Hunter and forcibly remove Crosshair's chip, but he will still choose to stay with the Empire. Yeah, that last part, I do think he's like ultimately chip or no chip. I feel like he's going to choose the Empire, and then definitely a chance of him going out, saving them somehow, having like a semi-heroic moment. I don't know that everyone will think of him as a hero, but if he goes out, he'll probably go out helping them at least, hopefully. I don't know.
I do like the idea that if he stays with the Empire, just because it's different from what Star Wars usually does. I just want him to have the opportunity to, without a chip, choose a side. Because right now I feel like the chip is making the choice for him. But if he comes out and he says, nope, I choose the Empire, then I'll be like, okay, I'll stop hoping for your redemption so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at what point does the Empire say that he's not useful to them anymore?
Mm.
I mean, that's another possibility too, where maybe he feels betrayed by the Empire and says, well, now I have to fight my way out of this. Because again, he's the hero. You guys wait. Mark my words.
I hope you're right.
I know I'm right.
Scotty J-Ro with the next super chat. Thanks so much.
Hey, Scotty.
Rick, Bombad's most loyal enemy. Heart, great episode.
Yeah, that's me.
Thanks,
I need my royalty check from that shirt, Scotty.
Which shirt did you? Okay.
No, it was I thought I had it sitting here next to me. It was I think on one of their early shows, they were talking about Jar Jar, which they do, and I said something like, "Do you see even lifting?" And so they made the shirt of like buff Jar Jar.
Uh-huh.
So they took my quote. I'm still waiting on my check, Scotty. I know where you stream.
Aimless Dreamer, thanks for the next super chat. A very generous one too. Thank you. I desperately need some form of redemption for Crosshair. Star Wars is about family, and I refuse to believe that Lucasfilm would write a story where a key member of this family is nothing but a villain.
See?
Yeah, I'm with you right now.
I've been saying it since episode 2.
Molly's the only naysayer.
I don't know. Well, you just said that it would be different for Star Wars to do.
I'm not opposed
different.
to him choosing the Empire.
Molly, you're letting Grogu down back there. Grogu's down back there.
And let's not bring him into this.
I'm not. Look, he looks a little disappointed right now, Molly. That's all I'm saying. You can pick which one looks disappointed, but one of them does.
I feel like
one of those 80 Grogu back there.
Oh, I feel like in the next episode, we're going to see Crosshair torturing Hunter, and he's going to seem less and less and less like a hero.
Bring it.
But I'm still going to be like, that's not Crosshair, that's the chip. I need proof that it's not the chip making these decisions.
So while he's doing it, he's going to look directly at camera and say, Alex, it's not the chip. And just keep doing it.
Then I will join Molly in her crusade against Crosshair.
Now, you remember what Kevin Kiner, like early on, like tweeted something out about the last episode, some musical thing, like, is it okay to cry at the thing that you created for the end of this? Like, what's gonna happen? Do you think one of them's gonna die before the season's up? Or do you think
I think something sad will happen. I that's why I'm like, maybe a cliffhanger with Hunter where he doesn't die, but he is in trouble, or the chip is reinstalled or something. I don't know. I'm hopeful that none of them die.
Yeah,
because I envision Crosshair in that hero kind of moment. Like, no, he's the villain right now, you know, guys, but still, something will happen where we're gonna be like, oh man, I really liked him. I was wrong about him, Molly. And there's that scene in Aliens where Vasquez and I think Gorman are holding the little grenade in the tunnel, and they both press the button to kill all the aliens. I think he's going to have some kind of moment like that.
I mean, that's a great analogy because Gorman is the jerk the whole time. That at the end you're like, all right, you're not so bad.
Kids go watch Aliens. It's a good movie.
Yeah, Aliens is great.
Yeah,
that would be a fun reveal if Hunter were having a conversation with Crosshair. If he's being tortured or something, he's like, it's not you, this is the chip, and blah blah blah. He's like, and he takes his helmet off and shows like, oh, they took the chip out a while ago. That'd be a chilling moment.
Sure would. A good moment for a good villain. Dragoness Prime, thanks for the super chat. It's ya boy. I think that we'll likely assemble a team to save Hunter via Rex, which leads me to the fear that we will see a beloved clone die.
Okay. I just had this thought, and guys and everybody in the chat, don't hate me for having this thought. What if they assemble the team and they get Cham and Eleni and Hera to come help, and this is how Eleni dies?
Oh, that would suck.
That would be
just pain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really
that
really sorry.
It feels like we're backpedaling and just being like, oh, just kidding. We are going to show you how Hera's mom dies, and that would just be like a twist of the knife.
Well, what if she dies while Crosshair is trying to save her? Because he's the hero.
I was just watching Molly's face.
I was expecting Crosshair to kill her back in her episodes.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's something I don't have to see.
Alex, did you say, I might be making this up, but did you say sometime early on that you thought Echo might die in this?
Maybe. It's been, 14 weeks since
That's true.
the show began. I don't remember what I said last week. I mean, all of them are candidates, obviously, just because, the whole we don't see them in the original trilogy. So where are they? It's like they could very easily survive and just go somewhere that we don't know about. But
wherever Cut went.
Yeah, they just go. What if they bring Cut out of retirement and then he dies? Like I'm trying to think
he's
of
got a family.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
To me, Echo seems like the most. Echo seems like the most likely one. Like we've had the most time with him, through Clone Wars and in this. So,
you're right there, but I'm like, I want to explore him further where he's at right now. If you had to pick one member of the Bad Batch to die in the finale, who would it be? Can't choose Crosshair because
he's not. He's just not.
Because I know that's what Molly would say.
I guess I'd go Echo.
I think I'd go Hunter. I mean, I don't want that to happen, but
I think the show almost prepared us for it to be Hunter by having Cad Bane shoot him in episode, what was that, 7 or 6? Like we've already seen him get shot, but it probably, again, for reasons I said, Echo being the oldest and he kind of looks, I hear you. Echo kind of looks already kind of half dead. So it'll probably be him, unfortunately.
I could see.
I wanted to point out that I had that same thought where I was like, no, not Gregor. Wait, no, he's fine.
Yeah, I could see Echo having a reason to go out in a blaze of glory type thing. If something like that were to happen, he might also be a candidate for like sacrificing himself. I don't know.
I don't think any of them are going to die in the next 2 episodes. I think we're going to be fine.
Echo's final moments are going to be him sticking his arm into the thing and drowning one of the buildings on Camino And then
Ooh.
as it starts going underwater, you're just going to see his thumb start to come up.
Yeah.
And
The
that's the
thumbs
end.
up.
That's the end of Echo.
Bloop, bloop, bloop,
Do
bloop,
do 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 do. Lawrence Fletcher, thanks for the question. Do you think we'll see Wolf in this show? I kind of do. I mean, from the start, I was
Why
like,
not?
I hope to see Gregor. I hope to see Wolf. I wanted to see Rex kind of start to gather his crew, and hopefully more than just the two of them. Like, let's get Hauser in there. I don't know why he's not on that ATTE. He was probably getting his hair done, and he missed all that stuff with the Rebels crew. But yeah, I think Wolf is probably going to show up at some point.
Do we know when Kix gets put in stasis?
Before this, he was put in stasis before Order 66 happened, because when they wake him up, the first thing he says is like, I have to save the Jedi. And they're like, oh, you're like 50 years too late.
It's been a while since I read that story. So
yeah, he just popped up in a comic this past week. He was in Star Wars Adventures, and it was a story about the Crimson Corsair, and Kix gets a few panels. He's got new armor. Looks sick.
I'm gonna have to ask my son to borrow it. I haven't read it yet, but he's got
it. I'll just real quick. I'll upload a picture of it while we talk.
I'll go ahead and read this super chat from Michael T. It just says, love your channel. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Here is Kix's new armor.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like it. All blue and red. So that's him as a pirate.
Better watch out for whoever that is behind him.
Cool.
Aimless Dreamer, thank you for another very generous super chat. There are too many loose ends to tie up in these last two episodes to not have a second season at this point. Agreed.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if there is not a second season. I'm trying to like compartmentalize my feelings and not get my hopes up though, because they could just end it and leave us on not a cliffhanger, but like kind of wrap things up, but not really, and just leave it kind of open-ended. Like you can just assume what happens to them. They live happily ever after on the planet where all the clones live that Cut went to, because I'm convinced that they own their own planet now. They're all there. They're all fine.
It's the Rainbow Bridge planet. That's where all the clones go.
It being animation, I just assume they are already well into production for season 2. I think that when they do an animated show, this is me just talking out of my ass. I don't know anything, so I'm kind of guessing that they just went ahead and greenlit 2 seasons, and then they'll see how the first one does, and then decide if they're going to keep on going or what. So just based on the story, I fully expect that there's going to be a second season. There's just, yeah, I agree. There's too much going on. We still haven't seen Crimson Dawn or Dryden Voss, and it's going to happen.
Alex is like, we can't finish this show until we get Dryden Voss.
I've planted my flag on that hill too many times to let it go.
Yeah, and some Black Sun. I mean, we had that season 7 model too, for one of the Black Sun members. But there's that big question that was brought up in this season. That the Kaminoans want Omega back because they need Omega's clone DNA or whatever. Does the Empire still want it if they still have Kaminoan cloners? Is she still going to be hunted by now the Empire, not just the Kaminoans and bounty hunters?
That does fit with Lama Su gone, and Nala Se can still answer some of these questions, but it does feel like, oh, we're just going to leave that storyline?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what did Lama Su want her for specific? I mean, I guess we know enough to fill in the blanks, but
oh, I just had a random thought of thinking of Fennec Shand again. The way that she can come back into the mix is that she's with Boba Fett. Boba Fett hears about this and is like, let's go to Camino and see what's going down. I want to meet this Omega chick.
That'd be another good, like last minute episode surprise. to have Boba Fett come in, and kind of like the way at the end of Star Wars Rebels season 1, Darth Vader was the big tease, where it's like next season Darth Vader's going to be around instead of him. It could be Boba Fett. That could be fun.
Do you think before the season ends, we'll see the Emperor? Because one of those big unanswered questions for me was, and this is going back into some of the other animation, is like Project Harvester. If they're cloning, does what's happening with Omega and his Kaminoans have anything to do with Project Harvester?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's a season 2 thing.
Yeah, I mean he's on the poster, so they have a character model that they can use for the show. Besides what they used in the hologram in the beginning,
right?
In the broadcast, but it seems a little odd that there hasn't been anything. We know he's the big bad during this time, but I would like to see him somewhere. I mean, he's the one that gives Tarkin the order to say, wiped him out. Just rehashing that old line.
If we're following the same kind of format that Rebels did and Resistance, I think we're just spending a lot of time with the characters, the main heroes, and then maybe in season 2, it'll get pulled more and more into the main storyline and see more and more familiar stuff. We've already seen plenty of familiar faces in season 1, but I could see that.
I haven't noticed.
I could see that getting to be even more common in season 2 and beyond. So maybe they're saving the Empire and Crimson Dawn for season 2.
That would make for some really exciting season 2 stuff. We build a lot of hype.
Mm-hmm.
James Rodriguez, thanks so much for the super chat. I love the use of the original Imperial theme from A New Hope when the proto stormtroopers are on screen. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that earlier, and that was definitely really cool. A lot of New Hope Easter eggs in this one.
I'm like kind of obsessed with the fact that they did that. I just think it's such a cool choice to not go full Imperial March. Let's dial it back 3 years to A New Hope, and we'll use those motifs instead. I thought it was such a good idea.
It was chef's kiss, indeed.
Brett Baumler, thanks for the super chat. I think Rex is with Saw. In Rebels, Rex knows all about Saw leading the partisans, and they seem to have more history than just those Clone Wars episodes. And that would make sense that I like that a lot, actually. That would put Rex in a battle where he's like, can't talk, gotta run. If he's running around fighting with Saw. And if they go and they recruit Rex to help get Hunter, we could see Saw again, which, like we've been talking about, character models. They made this Saw character model. They're probably going to want to get their money's worth. Use it again.
I just like when everybody says the two words "see" and "saw" next to each other. That's just always funny to me. No, I was thinking, I've had this question, and I've been meaning to ask you on the Q&A on Patreon, everybody, that in the first episode when we see Saw, here we go again, and we see the group of people that's with him, there's a couple of kids, and I haven't had the chance to look back at the first episode, but could one of those kids be Jyn Erso? I was looking for one that had little goggles or something on their head. I don't know if she would have been with them around this time or not.
I think the timeline is off. I believe she would still be, I think she was 2 when the Clone Wars ended. So she's still like 4 to 6 years away from going to be with Saw.
Yeah, she might be around the time when we saw that flashback of them on Coruscant.
It'd be about then.
Yep.
Maybe a little before that. But yeah, that's pretty good.
Kevin from Con, thanks for the super chat. I have a feeling this season will end with the cloning facility destroyed. Imagine that classic Camino skyline without those big old domes. Yeah, just nothing but storms.
Just a bunch of water.
Nothing but storms.
Water and rain.
And then Rick says that's how we're going to get the stormtrooper name.
Yeah, nothing but storms and troopers.
I do like that idea. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. We've been speculating that at some point in the series, the cloning facilities would be destroyed. And it seems like it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And that's just another reason to go back to Camino, because if they have to rescue Hunter while there's a ticking clock of like a bunch of Venator class Star Destroyers ready to just unload on all those buildings.
Speaking of which, how about that shot of the Venator class destroyers over Camino? I was like, that's my new screensaver right there. That was gorgeous.
Yeah. There's so many good just wallpaper shots in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked at how good it looks sometimes. We're truly spoiled.
I had a feeling there's a lot of tired Lucasfilm animators right now that are just like, oh, it's finally out there. I worked so long in this.
I think you're right.
The lighting effects that they do, the shadowing effects that they did with the leaves, in the forest and all of that. It's amazing to see what they can do with animation to make it look like stylized live action. It's bonkers to me to see some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It really, it's made me appreciate even early seasons of the Clone Wars more as well, because now I'll see animated shows today that look like the Clone Wars season 1. And it just reminds me how ahead of its time Star Wars often is. But next up we have Guiguio. Thanks for the super chat. Could Boba Fett be brought in to help the rescue with his knowledge of Camino? He was name dropped this season for a reason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody knows. Nobody's heard of him.
I do think it's funny that the he's busy writing his book.
Yeah,
I do think it's funny that the Kaminoans were just like, he's disappeared. Don't know where Boba Fett is. Like, is he really laying low? He doesn't seem like it in the Clone Wars, but whatever.
Yeah. He seems to have made quite the name for himself.
Maybe after he and Cad Bane shot themselves in the head, he just like went to relax somewhere.
Maybe.
So long as we can acknowledge that Cad Bane did in fact shoot him in the head. We know that, but I'm just saying, since Cad Bane got shot in the head, I just want to point it out too that he in turn shot Boba Fett in the head. So
yeah. And
he shot a kid in the head.
Yep. Yeah, he would have been 15, maybe.
Compared to Cad Bane, he's a kid.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm
not. Iceberg11327, thanks so much for the super chat. What do you think Rampart meant when he said he had use for Nala Se? What are your thoughts on him? I've come around on him and his plots on Ryloth.
I like Rampart as a villain.
Yeah, he's very villainy, and I think it's just straight out the Empire is definitely still experimenting with the Kaminoans' ability to clone, and that's probably something that the Emperor is very interested in. So I'd say that's probably why they're keeping Nala Se around.
Yeah, I assume it's going to have to do with cloning, and they want to do experiments and stuff. I still think that Nala Se is not going to make it out of this series, maybe not the season. But yeah, I assume whatever Rampart wants with her, it's for cloning more than anything.
Can we talk about Rampart's chin?
Sure.
He's just very broad, That's a villain chin right there is what that is.
Way out there.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've noticed that.
I'm trying to see if I've got a good shot.
Now you're not going to be able to not see, because he's just got this square kind of flat-ended chin. I've been looking every time he's on screen. I was like, why is his chin all the way out there like that? Can you remind?
Oh, it's got its own little highlight.
Yeah.
You're right.
He's like the dude on I can't even remember. Never mind. It was another kid show where like they had like rubber kind of head stuff and he had a big fake. I can't remember what it was. Somebody's gonna be like,
I know who you're talking about.
Like a striped outfit.
Name, but yeah.
That
That's what
just
he's
makes
got.
me think of the really scary, creepy guy from Rocketeer. He had a scary chin too.
He did. Jane Dalton, thank you for the super chat. Did you all feel that the base in the episode was reminiscent of Starkiller Base? I felt that with all the walkways just opening into a giant abyss with no guardrails, that was very Starkiller.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of Lord of the Rings when they're cutting all the trees down and stuff. And there's that shot that just goes all the way deep down. Like it reminded me very much of that.
That's true. Was it Isengard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I like everyone's got different takes on. You okay back there, Hilo? Someone pointed out that it reminded them of Mount Tantus from the original Thrawn trilogy, which was a base built under a mountain. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And it kind of made me wish that this planet were Wayland and not Darrow, just for that fun little connection. But
by the way, I'm seeing in the chat they're calling out Lazy Town. That was the name of the show.
Oh, okay.
Robbie Rodden from Lazy Town.
Nice. Yeah, there was another Lord of the Rings reference, or maybe it was just us making the joke in our reaction. But when Hunter starts doing his tracking thing, he was like,
"Oh yeah,
a hobbit lay here,
a clone lay here."
Yeah.
People are saying that the base reminds them of Fallen Order as well. I think that makes sense. I'm sure the fact that they used Braca, I almost blanked on the name, that they used assets from the game for Braca and stuff. I'm sure they're looking at even the games for inspiration.
Oh yeah, sure they are. Alex, I might need your help with this one. This was super chats from Theral. Thanks, Theral. Like you saw Nala sue Kaminoan lawyer, me sue ran to safety, thus begun the court wars of their, like, where is Cody there?
What?
Go on, Star Wars. Explain that.
Where's Cody? I got that. Where is Cody? He's someone that keeps on in
That's
Star Wars
true.
Rebels. When we brought clones into Star Wars Rebels, everyone was like, oh, maybe we'll see Cody. And now it's again seems like the perfect time to bring Cody back up. And I think that if it doesn't happen this season, I'll still hold out hope that it'll happen next season.
For some reason, I feel like Cody is just like one of the worst ones. Like his chip went off and it just really stuck. And so he's like hanging out with the Emperor or something.
There's also this possibility too. Although I don't know that they need to save for one or the other.
Well, what if he just shows up for one scene in this one and they're like, Cody, we need you on this mission. And he's like, no, I'm hunting Jedi. And he just out the door.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
hunting a Jedi.
Uh-huh. I like that.
I'll see you in live action.
Maybe he became not an Inquisitor, Purge Trooper, because they were initially clones. So
it's true.
Maybe that's where he went.
Yeah.
Nerdy Seb, thanks for the super chat. I like to point out that the batch mainly stuns everyone, while Wrecker is just full on shooting everyone. That's why I love him.
I thought for a second maybe he just forgot to put his gun on stun, but I also that's definitely a possibility with him, but I also feel like he's just tired of only stunning people and not actually getting to shoot people. I don't know.
I do wonder sometimes why they I assume it's because it's an animated show and they don't want their heroes constantly killing everyone, and they don't have a chopper to commit all the war crimes. Like
Gonki needs to get out there.
Yeah, Gonki needs to learn.
My son even asked me, he was like, why do they just keep stunning them? Why don't they just shoot them? And, there's that part, earlier was like, well, those are their clone brothers and they don't want to kill their clone brothers. But it's like, these guys aren't clones. Right. They should be, shooting whenever they want to. And, Wrecker's kind of like, lay off my brothers, and just kicks the door open, and he's just, It's like that scene in The Matrix. He's just shooting. I keep
Yeah.
referencing all these other movies. I don't know. But yeah, he just shoots all that down that hallway and stuff. So hey, good for him.
Yeah, you're right though. It's maybe he knew that they were TK troopers and not clones.
I don't know that he knew. I don't think Wrecker cared.
Yeah, it's like K2 saying like, did you know that one wasn't me?
Mhm.
Just like, oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Droid walks into a bar. Thanks for the super chat. Let us know.
I think it's this.
Oh, okay.
Since we're so obsessed with character models, do you think we'll see Commander Bly in the Bad Batch, because he was in a half-second shot in the final Clone Wars season? I wonder if that's also a snarky schmodown comment, which, if it is, good on you. I don't want Bly to show up because he's garbage. He's a garbage character and he shouldn't be around. I lost not my last Schmodown match, but the one before it, I lost on a Bly question. Just blanked on his name and couldn't remember it. So Bly is dead to me. But even so, I feel like the clone armor, that's not quite the same. That's like repainting a clone, like an already created asset. It's not like making Dryden Voss from the ground up. So
yeah.
But I mean, I'm down to, in all honesty, I'm down to see any familiar clone.
I'm just thinking like anybody that's been in the show so far that could come back and help. I mean, do Trace and Rafa come back and help? And there's any handful of people, do Bolo and Ketch jump in a ship and, start doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've upset people. I'm joking. That was a case where Bly didn't let me down. I let Bly down.
Yeah. You thought of it. You were just a couple of seconds too late.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yep.
We don't have to reopen that wound every time he comes up.
Poor Bly is somewhere like, you were my brother, Alex.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to try to wrap up here in a little bit. The last super chat question we have here is from Miranda here. Thanks so much. Happy Friday, all. Really great episode. Daro's the first new world in the show, yeah? Do you think it'll show up in future fame like the Jedi Fallen Order sequel?
I don't think it's the first new planet. I don't know why that. I feel like there's something in my head that, again, I'm blanking. Bly.
It's been a long day.
But I do like that idea, especially with people saying this base reminds me of Fallen Order. So yeah, maybe they are modeling something that we could see in the Fallen Order sequel, which would be awesome. Boravio, thank you, everyone.
I heard the name Daro and I don't know. I should have it shouldn't have surprised me later on seeing some things that we saw, but like I hear Daro and my first thought was of Darman, who was one of the clones from the Republic Commando novels, who their squad in those books was called Omega Squad. Mm-hmm. At least in the first book it was. And so to see, Clone Commandos later on, like I shouldn't have been surprised by that, just having that connection in my brain. And, it's not a 1-for-1, but, I just thought of Darman right away.
Maybe that'll be a reference that they'll include in their episode guide on Monday.
Yeah.
I hope so. And then my check from Star Wars will be in the mail. So.
Yeah. We're all waiting for our checks.
Along with your Bombadcast royalties.
I got to feed the meter. So I need some quarters from Scotty Jarrow. Send those up my way. Unless I was the only one that bought the shirt and it would, I don't know. I was on their show once, so maybe that's payment enough. I don't know.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. Man, I can't, my brain is fried. I am shutting down. But thank you all so much for hanging out in the chat with us and sending in your questions and your super chats. Rick, where can people find you and follow you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cad Bane's Bounty, where I say dumb things online. So I try to have some fun with Twitter because it's not always fun. You can find me. We're on a hiatus right now, but I do co-host a show called Jam Transmissions with my buddy Pete. We have taken a break for the summer. We will be back soon. I have fielded some questions from some people asking like, what happened to the show? But we will be back. You can follow us on Twitter at JTComlink. And you can also find me doing Patreon shows for Children of the Watch. It's patreon.com/The Mandalorian Watch. They had a name change. Right now we are breaking down all of the High Republic content. So very soon we will either be talking about the first arc of the High Republic comics or the Rising Storm, because I need a good cry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there are links to all of that down in the description, so go check them out and follow Rick. Molly, is there anything you wanted to plug?
Watch Collision tomorrow and drink some Captain Morgan. Yeah.
We're not sponsored by Captain Morgan. Don't give that away for free. Come on, Captain Morgan, sponsor us for no reason.
Come on, do it. Do it.
But that's gonna be it for today. We will be back on Wednesday to live stream. We're gonna keep on plugging away at that Lego Cantina. But thank you again all for joining us in the chat, and we will see you next time.